Hello and welcome to Kirklees Local TV Weekly Wind-Up program. On the show, we always discuss the news, the briefing and topical issues that will directly impact our local community here. We aim to be informative, interesting, amusing, but definitely provocative. Please talk to us today as we talk to you, and you can do so by email at info@kirkleeslocaltv.com or on Twitter on the search engine at Weekly Windup. Today we're going to be discussing some very topical issues, and we've got three very qualified guests to deal with all subject. We've got Rikki Arundel from Gender Network, PC Sally Baines, amen, from the Respect Me Too program, and our own local Tim Waldron from Kirklees Local Equal Opportunities. It's my opportunity here to welcome you this morning. We're going to be starting off with what is probably known as gender issues in our society. But we are not the expert, but we certainly have an expert today, somebody who's living the experience, and we certainly want to know it's not just about gender dysphoria, and it's a whole complex set of issues. So tell us, in your own word, Rikki, your experience, and what is this whole thing about gender?
I think if you talk to most trans people, what you'll find, whether trans men or trans women, you'll find that most of us start to have some level of discomfort in pre-puberty, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, that sort of age. At about the age when everybody starts to become aware that there is a real difference. Now, I recall most of the issues for me starting at around about 7. Suddenly I wanted to cross-dress, didn't understand why this was. Subsequently, I've sort of looked back through my life and found that there were lots of things flagging up what was going on, but back then in the 1950s, people weren't looking for it. Yeah. I was taken to a psychiatrist because I couldn't get on with children of my own age. They assessed me and decided that I was 2 years ahead of my age mentally. So they put me in a class above. And then I moved to another county who said, oh, no, can't do that. You're too old, you've got to go back down. So I became a real, rebel in school, really disruptive child, because now I was bored out of my brains because I'd been put down a year. But looking at it now, of course, if you assessed a girl against a boy, you would almost invariably at that age come up with the conclusion that she was a couple of years ahead mentally, because most girls seem to progress more quickly earlier, and then it slows down. So because they weren't looking for gender, they didn't spot that. It wasn't because I wasn't getting on with other children. What was the problem was I wasn't getting on with boys. But again, they weren't looking for gender. Yeah. Now we would actually start to look at that and start to realize actually what was going on. Here's a child who may have gender dysphoria. It used to be called gender identity disorder. Yeah. About a year ago, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of the American Psychiatric Society got changed. It's no longer a disorder. And that's been a big battle that we've had for years to try to get that. Just as in 1988, they stopped having homosexuality as a mental health disorder. So we're now at the point where it's not considered a mental health disorder, but it is still in the manual as a condition. Okay. And the condition is this sense of disconnect between the body, sex, and the gender, how I present myself. And that's really what this is all about. It's on the one hand, even though I may have a male body, or it may not even be entirely male, for some people they're born intersex, where even the physical body isn't quite right. But the issue is, how do I feel up here? What's my gender identity? What's my sense of self? And we see that by the time children start to see that there is a difference, if you're comfortable with your gender, if everything's okay, then you won't even realize the problem. But if you're not, then immediately you're going to start having issues.
Well, Rikki, you sound very confident in who you are and confident in the program and the work that you're doing, the Gender Network. What has brought on this confidence, and what message would you send to our listeners who may be struggling with gender identity?
The biggest problem we have, I think, at the moment is it's actually we've solved a lot of the problems with regards to women. Because if a woman expresses herself, take a police force, it wasn't long ago you had to wear skirts, you had to wear that uniform is now a practical uniform. But what would imagine what would have happened if the decision had been made not to actually give you the opportunity to wear trousers, but all the men now had to wear skirts? Just imagine what would happen now. There would be absolute uproar. Because there is this sense of, oh, skirts don't work. I was doing some work at Leeds Art College, and some of the girls were doing a project to try and get some of the boys to wear a skirt. And they were having real challenges finding anybody prepared to volunteer to wear a skirt to walk around the college. And that's the problem we've got, and it gets connected to homosexuality, but for men, you can't go much past wearing a pink shirt before everybody starts to look and go, oh, must be gay. Whereas for a woman, you can go all the way. So the problem we've got is that we've got this huge amount of pressure to conform to a gender stereotype that is just an unwritten set of rules that says this is what you've got to wear. If you're a man, you must do that. If you're a woman, well, you can do what you want.
Well, here we want to bring in Tim, who is Kirklees Equal Opportunities czar. Where do you see this going? Do you think there's a lot of education in your department? How are we coping with just being fair and equal?
Well, we should be fair and equal to everybody. I think this is particularly an issue that there's still a lack of awareness around, and I'm a big believer that to understand what issues are about, you need to be aware of them. You need to come into contact with people who live differently to yourself to understand their perspective. Because for me, this very much gets parcelled into that it's all about a lifestyle choice. It's not. It's, as Rikki says, it's about who you are here, and that's the important element. And I think we need to spend time to become more aware of who people are, what they're about. I think education is always the key. It's the key to everything. I'd certainly like to see the education system more open to discussion and debate and understanding about the subject. So, as I say, I think the key to everything is that awareness and actually interacting with people that are different to yourself, getting to know what they're all about, and actually to understand they're the same as you but different.
Isn't that problem? Difference is the real problem, isn't it?
Yes.
People just can't handle difference.
That difference, yes. But it's sort of, the more you do it, the more you become aware, the more comfortable you become with that. And if you will, you then open your mind to what other people are all about.
Well, PC Sally Baines, the police really is a force in our society. They're all over there in every aspect of the society. We are also faced with issues of gender reassignment in the police force. Where do you see, is it a choice? Is it something that people just wake up and decide, I need to go and do it? Or do you think that we need to be fair to people and listen to them and give them the opportunity to be themselves?
Oh, it's all about wanting to be yourself. Like the question is it a choice or a need? I think it might be in some cases a bit of both. I have come across people before who've made that choice and literally woken up one morning and thought, right, I'm not happy in who I am, I want to change, I want to be somebody else. So I mean, the people that I've come across, obviously I deal with all sections of society, and I have, like I said, I have dealt with a couple of people before who I've spoken to, and we've talked about their issues in depth, and both the people I've spoken to have said there's, a bit like with you, Rikki, there's been something as a child that they felt at first it wasn't quite right, but as they've got older they've discovered they're not who they're happy being, and they want to make that choice. And I think society as a whole is a lot more open to people making that choice as they were I think it's changed radically in the last few years.
Well, certainly the gender debate is growing here in the UK, and everything that we say here, you can always reference it to Kirklees Local TV. We can get any of the personnel that you hear today that can come and give you an awareness talk. No, it is our delight to continue the program, and we're moving straight from gender identity into the grooming of young people. Literally, I was speaking to Rikki today, and this is not something new. She said she had been groomed. Now, PC Sally Baines, their department have received quite a bit of money to run what we call the Respect Me Too program. Could you explain that to me?
The Respect Me Too program is a programme that myself and a local charity based in Huddersfield called Freedom Personal Safety, they were devised together, and we've been lucky enough to receive a grant to roll it out into several schools. We've started off in the Kirkburton and Denbydale areas, and recently we've received another £6,000 to do it across other schools in Kirklees. The basis of the project is speaking to, at the minute it's girls, but we're hoping to roll it out to boys as well. It's about empowerment and knowing the signs of what we believe grooming to be, and how to stand up for yourself, report it, speak to people, basically not becoming a victim to grooming. And it is very, very easy to do because the people who do the grooming are very, very good at it. And it's a very slow, subtle process, and before you realise what's happening, it might be too late. So it's about educating the children about what these people do, what these people say, what can be said and what can be done, and how to stand up for yourself, and like I said, have the courage to report it and get other people involved, whether it be teachers, the police, parents, and hopefully put a stop to it.
Isn't one of the biggest problems here about the power relationship there? Because when I was being groomed, and I didn't even realise it was happening. All I happened, there was this very, very wealthy owner of a stately home, the most wealthy, powerful man in the entire area. And I wanted to go swimming in his swimming pool, and the condition was I didn't wear my trunks. And I thought, oh, well, that's what people like this do. So I had no idea what was happening. Somebody obviously did, because my father sort of must have intervened and got it all stopped. But we've seen with Jimmy Savile, we've seen with other people that there's a bit of awe. I know of girls who were groomed by social workers and people like that, who put them in a position where they felt that if they tried to come out and say anything about this, that they would be made to look stupid. They would, and I think our greatest fear, all human beings, our greatest fear of all is ridicule, being humiliated.
Yeah.
And we will do absolutely anything we can to avoid humiliation. So the last thing anybody wants is they're being groomed, and it's it's an important person. If you then try to attack them, then you're going to look stupid, and parents are going to say you're stupid. If it's your a stepfather or someone like that, who's going to believe you? So I think there's this huge fear of being made to look stupid, so you just go along with it.
Right. So that makes it a worthwhile venture for Respect Me Too program that PC Baines is running.
Absolutely.
Because it's about empowerment, it's about saying the right thing to people. No, I think we all agree that grooming is wrong in any sense of the word.
Yeah.
But as a PC also, what about the conviction rate? Is it very high? Are we having a lot of...
Well, more people coming forward. I mean, it has been a hot topic recently with the situation in Rotherham, and there's been other issues before in Greater Manchester. So it is becoming, it's coming to the fore now. It is being reported. People are standing up for themselves and saying, young girls especially, having the power to come to report it and be believed, because part of the grooming process is, like I said, power. It's them having power over the young girls. And no one's going to believe you if you say anything. No, they're going to believe me. You're just a kid. They're not going to believe you. And making them, giving them the power to stand up and say, no, this is happening to me. I need to get out and tell people this. So it is becoming more of not a widespread issue. It's always been going on. It's been going on for years. And I don't think it's been hidden or repressed in any way. It's just that people haven't said it. It's always been there bubbling under, but now people they can feel like they can speak to people about it, and the police and other authorities are going to take them seriously. So
lovely. I can't wait to bring Tim in here, because have we got anything in the legislation now, Tim, that is going to cause us to make sure that we can educate people?
My observations around this area would be that the high-profile cases in the recent past are giving people the confidence to come forward. Yeah. So again, the same as my argument about awareness and understanding, the fact that these issues are now in the public eye, it is supporting the feeling that people can come forward. The point I would make as well, I think we've been through a decade where these issues of seen as the parlance of professional services alone. Really, some of the issues for me about we should all be vigilant, no matter who we are, what we do, what our designated work is. We should all be vigilant as to what's happening around us. And again, awareness is the key here, because the clever ways that people manipulate other people are the things that perhaps you don't, as a non-professional, understand what's happening.
My biggest concern around all of this is the fact that some people are now being targeted, particularly when we look at things like Cliff Richard, where suddenly there was a huge amount of publicity over him, which he knew absolutely nothing about. And I worry sometimes that where the complainant has immunity from, or is given anonymity, the target, the person that they're complaining about, is in the full glare of media. And you look at what's happened to Freddie Starr, his life has been absolutely destroyed, and there seems to be no evidence that actually there was any problem there. They're being picked out for difference.
Absolutely.
I'm not suggesting in any way that shouldn't be tackled, but I just wonder whether we've got the law right in the way in which people now can be targeted and their lives can be destroyed by claims which are untrue. And that then starts to create a problem for people who do have a legitimate claim, because everyone says, well, we've got all this rubbish. So I think there's a lot of some problems with the law in terms of getting that working right.
Well, Kirklees Local TV will be taking the lead in this discussion, I am supposed. And if you're watching this program and you're affected by anything that you've heard today, please get in touch with us. We're going for a short break now, but don't touch that button. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Kirklees Local TV's edition of the Weekly Wind-Up. And today we're very happy to have Rikki, Arundel from the Gender Network, PC Sally Baines from the Respect Me Too program, and Tim Waldron here from Kirklees Local Opportunity. Now, very often, almost every form, you have to be filling them out repeatedly when the police stop you, when other agents, the hospital, you've been bombarded with these forms asking the same question about your personal details. And I think the public is becoming very fed up. Do you really think all of this information is necessary?
The key reasons for collecting what we term as about you questions are really to try and see if there are any differences in outcome, in opinions, or in situations for different people. In terms of the Kirklees Council, we collect such information around recruitment because we want to know whether our workforce is reflective of the society that we serve. We believe that we deliver services better if we do reflect the people that we serve. So it's important for us to try and gain that understanding. Around consultation, it's important for us to understand that different communities will have different opinions. And as we're going through a period where there's massive change in the services that councils can and can't deliver for the future, it's very important that we understand, particularly minority communities' points of view around the approaches that we're taking for the future. It's not about Big Brother, it's about looking at different points of view from different people. Of course, everybody has the right to withhold information, but people probably need to bear in mind that if we don't understand those different perspectives, then we're going to find it difficult to cater for particular groups of individuals.
Lovely. Well, I can't wait to bring in PC Sally here, because we have no choice. When it comes to information and the police, we just have no choice, because you're going down to the cell anyhow, so you'll have to give it. Do you think we are getting just too much information, or are you getting the information that is necessary for you to do your job?
We have a set number of questions, and we have certain boxes we have to tick when we're dealing with people. So we've got the same questions we need to ask, like we have to ask about, what is your perception of your ethnic background? We can't put people in boxes because we've been criticised for that before. So, we've got certain hoops we have to jump through as well, and that's all to go on our systems and stuff like that. But we have to have that information so we can pass it on to other organisations we work with. But yeah,
So
I do feel a bit
No,
sometimes.
I know you can't wait to get Rikki because
Yes.
some of this information you wish you didn't have to be
No,
asked about. But tell us about it.
The issue is very simple. I see form after form after form completed, and I know that half the time they're going to end up in a box because we haven't actually got the resources to take the data and put it onto a computer. So we're collecting the data but not actually using the data. And then I go to a meeting and I see, it's a meeting about housing, and there is nobody under the age of 30 at that meeting because they're scared to come to the meeting. So even though we've got the information, they're not represented. If there are no people from the BME community, because they don't want to come in. So so what I'm seeing is that we take the information, but we're not actually addressing the problem. The problem is, how do we engage all people from all areas of the community? Trans people necessarily want to keep themselves secret. They don't want to disclose it. We've actually got the law on our side saying I don't have to tell anybody that I'm trans. And so you ask a question, and the question was asked, we did it in Hull, we asked the standard question is your gender identity the same as the gender you were assigned at birth? Well, Bransholme estate, huge, big social housing estate, 25% of respondents said no. Well, I know that 25% of the people who live on Bransholme estate are not trans. They just didn't understand the question, because we also know that 20% of them actually have very poor literacy skills. So we've got a problem. We're not getting the right information. What we've got to do is look at the public sector equality duty. That's the real driver. And that's the driver that says that if you work in anything funded by the public purse, you need to look at who you're engaging with, and you need to start to try to understand, are you reaching all parts of the community? And if you're not, figure out a different way to reach some of those, because you may have to go a completely different. If you want to get to young people, run a music event. If you want to get to the BME community, get down to the local, Afro-Caribbean society.
Sad enough, I guess I know we're just getting our teeth into it, but we've got to say bye. That's all we've got time for this week. But join us next week for another edition of your weekly wind-up from KLTV.